Peace. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the blog. I am OnenO, and today we got a very sensitive subject to talk about, but it's one that I think is actually very important to talk about. Before I even jump into it, I have to preface by saying that I've dedicated my whole life to speaking truth, and truth is sometimes incredibly uncomfortable to hear. Self-included, I've had to approach truths in my own life that are difficult to hear, and yet when you dive into the truth that is there, it sets you free. You didn't know that you were in a downward spiral at the moment until you opened yourself to the truth to then realize that you were headed in a bad direction. So today's subject is the subject of social justice warriors. I cannot get over all of this footage I keep seeing out there on YouTube. You got people like Jordan B Peterson being totally shut down by social justice warriors, not realizing that he's out there to help them. He's out there to help everybody. So I'm going to attack this issue from one major angle. My number one problem with social justice warriors is that they think that they are helping America when in fact they are destroying the foundations of America. And let me explain it to you like this. We live in a country where the people are free and independent above in status from the government. In our country, the hierarchy of power is the individual, then any group that the individual organizes, called the government, and then any group beyond that called corporation, and then beyond that you have like employee or slave status. And the fact that we have removed ourselves from pure slavery, that's a good thing. And all the people presently alive here in America fit that first category, unless you volunteer yourself to be in a different category, which is precisely what the social justice warriors are doing, not realizing that they're doing it. So for instance, in America, you have the right to do whatever you want. Most people think, like, let's get into an actual issue. Gay marriage has been an actual issue. Most people think that you need the government's permission or acceptance of your marriage if it's going to be a legal marriage. And this already shows the level of ignorance that most people have, self-included. Until recently, I've educated myself a lot on this subject. But we're indoctrinated to think that you need the government's license of marriage in order to have a legal marriage. But that's not true. Anything that you do through the government, you can do as an individual here in America, which is not true in any other country. You can go to a place and get what's called a power of attorney. You can go seek out a power of attorney. You can take 3 witnesses with you. You can draft up your own marriage license. You can have your 3 witnesses and the power of attorney, which is a judge. He has the same level of status in American politics as a judge. And he will rule whatever it is, whatever document you've created. So you create your legal marriage to this person. And if you ever encounter a legal issue of marriage, you've now created your own documentation. So that's one example as to how social justice warriors are getting this issue wrong. On the issue of gay marriage, they are wanting the government to recognize gay marriage. And this is actually going against what they are fighting for. They're fighting for more freedom. But what they're doing is they're creating more slavery. They're now taking their status as a free and independent human, a people, and they're putting themselves down into corporate slave status, not realizing that they're doing it. And they're also damaging the rest of the country by trying to take everybody and force everybody to recognize this government sanction, or whatever you want to call it. So the example that I've been following with Jordan B Peterson is one where he was protesting the forced application of pronouns, meaning that he would have to use pronouns or get fired from his job or potentially be fined by the state. I don't remember if jail time was an actual part of breaking this code, but it's an extreme punishment for somebody just getting a pronoun wrong. And I fully support Jordan Peterson. I could not think that he is more articulate. He is so articulate. It is just mind-blowing to watch him speak on YouTube. And then when you watch how people are reacting to what he's saying in the social justice world, you have all these people that are claiming he's a white supremacist and won't even let him speak. And yet what he's trying to educate even the social justice warriors to understand is that not only are they trying to harm him, they're actually trying to harm themselves. Because it's actually passed now in Canada, this bill. I think it's C-16. It's the major bill that everybody's been talking about. And they finally passed it, even after all this time of protest. And what Jordan was trying to get people to recognize is that by passing the bill, they were now taking gender politics, this is literally what it's called, gender politics, and trying to change it from a binary, they're trying to claim that it has no biological evidence that gender is a binary system. How could you not have evidence enough that gender is a binary system, considering that only boys and only girls are born? Sure, you can choose or claim that you are any combination of those two, but it will always and forever be a combination. You will only be born as either a boy or either a girl. And then it's your prerogative how you choose to identify. But the moment that this community that claims they want to use certain pronouns, the moment that they say that somebody else legally must be forced to use the same pronouns or else they will encounter fines or jail time due to hate speech, this is a far reach of the actual issue at hand. And the fact that Jordan Peterson would go to a place like Berkeley, California to have a speech, give a talk, and that these social justice warriors would go into his talk banging cowbells and shouting over him to the point where he can't even be heard and has to sit silent on a stage, proves that these people do not have the intellectual capability to sit and have a rational conversation about their perspective. If they had an actual rational side of their conversation, then they would be able to sit down and engage in a debate with somebody like Jordan. But instead, they feel like they have to shout him down and not let him even open his mouth, claiming that he's a white supremacist trying to do so. And this leads me to my other point. Another major point I wanted to talk about in this video is the idea of white guilt. Why should I feel guilty for being my own skin color? And how does that not make you immediately a racist if you're trying to tell me that I should be guilty about being my own race? First of all, the amount of projection in that alone is shocking, because somebody's going to say to me now, well, you're white, which means that you're privileged, which means that you should feel guilty for your privilege, or you should stop being privileged. But my first major question is, what privilege are we talking about? I haven't experienced privilege when it comes to like the real parts of our society being, nobody's just like given me money. I've always had to go out there and work for it. No one's just given me opportunity. I've had to go out there and work for it. No one, I'm not living in this house for free. I'm like, what is it exactly that I'm privileged to? I could see the argument being that socially, my skin color means that most people don't judge me or that, but is that true? There's people out here watching this video right now that are judging me entirely because I'm this skin color and I'm talking about this subject. But this is my biggest problem. I don't see race in general. I don't see black, Asian, whatever, and label people with that race. Like, that's the most idiotic logic I could ever think about. To say that, okay, this person is black, so everything that I've ever thought about with black people applies to them, even though I've never had a conversation with that person. That makes me a racist. Yes, how is it not the same with white? If you claim that I'm a white supremacist just because I look white and I might be talking on certain subject lines, you're then gonna say he's a white supremacist without even hearing somebody like me out. Now, nobody's called me a white supremacist. I'm not coming at this conversation as a reaction to somebody calling me that, but I am coming at this video with the reaction towards the media and how the media is building this massive narrative that basically subconsciously is promoting white guilt, and that it's the degradation of white people. And it, like, look, there's a lot of fucked up people out there in the world. There's a lot of fucked up white people. There's a lot of fucked up black people and Asian people and all of them. Like, no human being is perfect. We're all here trying to do the best that we can. Believe it or not, even the social justice warriors. But we have to realize that the amount of projection of racism that's going on. Racism is being projected onto me as a white person, without anybody ever talking to me and asking me how I feel or how I think or engaging with me. There tends to be this immediate projection given the mainstream narrative that's going on. So I just had to call all of this stuff out because it's totally bullshit. Talk to me, ask me who I am, and then you'll know. And after that, if I display myself to be a racist, then you should treat me like one. But how dare you treat me like a racist before I've ever even been asked my opinion? So I'm gonna keep this video, I think, short. Keep it right about here. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this stuff. I'd like to know your thoughts on the subject of social justice warriors. Do you completely disagree with me? That's fine if you do. Let me know why and make it articulate. Don't just say that I'm a racist, or don't just say that I'm white privileged. Make an articulate discussion. Don't just mimic what you've heard on the television. I'm not mimicking what I've heard on the television. I'm telling you exactly how I feel. And exactly how I feel is that this whole white guilt thing has got to stop, and I will not play into it. And honestly, I was debating if I would even make a video like this on my channel, because I know it's a very polarizing subject. And I dedicate my channel to unity and to oneness and to bringing people together. That's why I call myself OnenO. The name OnenO is a palindrome on the number 1, O-N-E-N-O. And the point of that is to remind you and me, with every interaction we have together, of our connectivity and our oneness. And this is why it irks me so much to see what's happening in this social justice world, is because they're claiming oneness by propagating separation. You can't try to elevate yourself above other parts of society, or try to devalue other parts of society so you can find value, and claim that you're trying to bring people together. You have to actually bring people together. You can't separate more and say it's in the name of unity. That's the most ass-backwards logic I have ever seen. Okay, I'm cut it off. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. And until I see you again along the journey, oneness in sound, I am OnenO. Peace.